Pork chops are my favorite cut of meat for a couple reasons. One being they're versatile and they're easy to cook. They take on any flavor and texture and they really do great with it. Another reason why it's my favorite is because when I first started cooking as a self-taught cook, pork chops was one of my first things I tried. And of course the first time around it was totally overcooked, it was dry, but I wasn't scared to try it again. So the second time I cooked it, I just shaved off a couple minutes on the cook time and it was easy. It had a little bit of blush pink in the center and that's okay. The secret in all this is that you can use a meat thermometer to get perfectly cooked pork. As we get prepared to do our kale and bacon stuffed pork chop, I've got my 2 cuts of meat on the counter that we're going to use. It's our pork loin chops and our bacon. These have come from our local meat market to our refrigerator and now on our counter for about 20 minutes or so. So now we're just going to cut easy pockets in here. So you don't want to go all the way through because again we're going to have a pocket, so we're going to stuff the pork chop. Sounds like a fancy recipe and it tastes like a fancy recipe, but it's really easy to prepare. So all you do is you go about halfway through the pork chop and just cut a little pocket. These are thicker cuts, so they're going to take a little bit longer to cook, but that's okay because it's going to give you a nice, tender, juicy meal. And you want to cut on the opposite side of the fat. If you are worried about fat as you're cooking these, make sure to trim it at the end after you take it out of the oven because the fat's going to play a nice role in developing a beautiful flavor in your pork chops. We've taken our bacon out of our fridge and it's been on our counter for about 20 minutes. Really simple to cook. All you do is put it over medium heat, cook about 8 minutes depending on the thickness of your cut, and it's going to create a wonderful aroma and you're going to cook it until it's about crisp. Okay, you're going to leave your bacon drippings in your skillet and add 1/4 inch pieces of kale leaves. I've already done that. Destem them, cut them into 1/4 inch pieces. Add it to your hot skillet, again medium heat. To add a little bit of flavor, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. Great. So you're going to remove that from the heat and then we're going to use this in our stuffing of our pork chops. I've added my sauteed kale and my crumbled bacon into a mixing bowl. So now all I have to do is stuff my pork chops. Take our beautiful cuts of meat here. We've already cut that pocket in the center. So what I'm going to do is add just a handful, add as much as you can get in there. We're going to take our stuffed pork loin chops and add them to a medium hot skillet. So again, nice and hot, our bacon drippings are still in our skillet. We're just going to sear the outside to seal in the juicy flavor. Wonderful sound. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, you're going to have a little bit of mess. That's okay. Our pork chops are now seared on both sides. I'm personally going to transfer into an oven-safe dish because it's easier for me to transfer into the oven like that. You can always just put your skillet right in the oven too. That works. So as you get more comfortable with meat, you'll get more comfortable with cook times. For this, it depends on the thickness. However, I've got my oven preheated to 350. I'm going to use my meat thermometer after 8 to 10 minutes to see how many degrees I have. I'm looking for about 145 degrees Fahrenheit. So I've just taken my pork chops out of the oven and now I want to use my meat thermometer to make sure that they're done. So my first thought is just to add it straight in just like that, which isn't necessarily wrong, but there's a better way to do it. So what you're going to do is look at the thickest part of the meat and you want to stick it in at an angle. Watch the dial. If you have an automatic one, that's wonderful. Watch the dial go and you're going to look for a 145. So it's going to give you just a slight bit of blush pink for a tender, delicious meal. So it looks like we've hit 145, so we're looking pretty good. Let's say you were under it, add it back in the oven for 2 to 3 minute increments, take a temperature until you feel comfortable. The more you cook pork, the more comfortable you're going to be with it. All right, needless to say, I am so excited to enjoy this dish. But remember, my first time cooking pork, I totally overcooked it. But with the help of my meat thermometer, I was able to get a 145 temperature for blush pink. And that blush pink is safe. It's going to give you a juicy, tender, tasty piece of pork. So, let's eat.